Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Brittany and this is Stash-tember. So, pretty soon I will be posting like a little blurb on me cleaning out my craft room, and I'm not going to show too much about like what the room looks like in this current state just because it's a hot mess and I'm ashamed. So, about 2 months ago, I started going through like old whips and old bins, and I had all kinds of bins just stuffed with whips and projects and yarn. And I have never really done like a stash busting thing. I've just kind of like accumulated so much yarn over the years. And so I started like tearing out old whips, going through all of that stuff. If I didn't know what hook I was using or anything like that, I just kind of frogged it and put it in a bin. And then this section over here was like configured like a bookshelf, but I decided I needed to make it a little bit more accessible for this whole challenge because I want to try to get as much completed and like out of this room as I can. So in order to do that, I have to be able to access the yarn pretty easily. So I try to categorize it. So like these top two are like acrylic blanket type yarns. There's a few in this bin that are like a bulky weight. And then the bottom three are what I would consider like a wearable yarn. So there's like merino blends, acetate, wearable, velvet, and then I have the label that says wearable miscellaneous, and the very bottom is bamboo and silk blends. And then I made like kind of like a hanging pegboard wall, like a temporary hanging pegboard wall. And I hung all my like high quality hanked yarn from there. And that's a lot too. There's like, I think my daughter counted, she said there was like 24 hanks or something. Which anyway, I mean, we're not here to judge. Okay, I have a lot of yarn. I know this. 5 bins here, a bunch of hanks on the wall over there. I have a lot of yarn. So the whole point of the Stash-tember challenge is to put myself on like a buying yarn ban. I'm not gonna let myself buy any yarn. Which I'm a little bit upset because a yarn that I have been like stocking went on sale and I wanted it so bad, but I'm not gonna buy it. I'm not. There will be another yarn kind of like that. I just love the colorway and I just feel like I had to have it, but I'm not letting myself have it. If I get through this stash enough, I can reward myself with a few hanks of camper van, but that's not going to happen because there's no way I'm going to be able to get through this. So I have a lot of yarn. A lot of it, or I guess like most of it in these top 2 bins, it was kind of like accumulated over the years. So because I've never done any kind of like stash busting project, or like I have done stash busting projects, but not like enough to keep up with like what I've got going on. So in these 2 bins, there's also like a lot of random colors. So it's not just pinks and purples and oranges. Like when you see people doing like stash blankets and they have like an ombre effect, that's not what's going on in here. It's very random, like purples and blues and yellows and fluorescent colors and all of that. So, and in all honesty, these top 2 are all acrylic, like blanket type yarn. I have more blanket yarn, and outside of this, I have already made a stash blanket. So 1 stash blanket completed, and this is still there. So I've got a lot to go through. All of this acrylic, destined to be some kind of a blanket. At the end of this whole challenge type thing, when I'm all done, if I have any yarns that I haven't gone through or I don't have plans for, I will most likely donate it. But I didn't want to, because I have so much, I wanted to try to challenge myself and use up what I have instead of just dumping it into a donation bin and like having somebody else do the stash busting. I was the one that bought the yarn, so I should be the one to bust the stash. So So yeah, that's this. Then when I was kind of like cleaning out everything and I realized how much I had, I knew I had to like come up with a plan and stick to it and like do it really quick, because I kind of like lose steam, and I don't want to lose steam with this whole thing and get sidetracked and all of that. So what I've done is I plan for this to be actually 2 months. So this is the Stash-tember challenge, and then next month will be the Stash-tober challenge. And I've planned out several projects that I'm going to do for the month of September. And I think I have most planned for October. I could probably keep this going for longer. But because I want to do large projects, I'm gonna have to give myself enough time to like finish them. So I'm trying to do larger projects because obviously I have a lot of yarn to go through, but also want to make things that I'm gonna wear. Or also, because even though it's like September, I'm thinking of like gifts. So some people, they're just not people that you give handmade gifts to, but other people appreciate it. So I have a few people in mind that I'm going to gift things to. But yeah, so if you're kind of like looking to go through your stash, or maybe you have some of these yarns in your stash and you don't know what to do with them, hopefully these videos give you an idea of like what you can make. Because as I was trying to like plan these things out, I was struggling to find things that like fit my criteria in my head. And I realized that it's because I don't really have like scraps. Like I do have a lot of like random things with the acrylic, and I can make like probably 5 more, maybe not 5 more, like a bunch more scrap blankets. But as far as like when we get into like the wearable items, I have more skeins of things. And well, I shouldn't say a lot of them, maybe like half of the yarn that I have in the wearable, especially the hanked yarns, I remember what plans I had for those. So when I start getting into like the wearable items, like the sweaters, the cardigans, or whatever I'm gonna be sharing, I'm gonna stick with the yarns that I have the most of. So, yeah, so I'll show you a few of the yarns that I have like kind of plans for, how I'm gonna kind of tackle this, and the rules I'm giving myself. So number one, I'm not buying any yarn for any purpose until this whole, at least half of this, if not more, is gone. Because like I said, I still have a few bins that I could probably go through and frog things, because I don't sell completed items anymore. I don't really want to sell completed items anymore. So I don't know. I would rather frog it and find a purpose for it, or find someone who loves it, or whatever the case may be. So I still have things that I can frog. But because this room is kind of small, I'm just going to consider this in the back of the wall my stash for now. I know what I have, I've categorized it, I kind of have an idea of what's going on. So for Stash-tember, I have planned a scrap blanket, which will be the only scrap blanket that I'm going to share. If I make something later, I'll just kind of like share it on the side. I won't make it part of the challenge. And the reason is there's so many tutorials out there that that share scrap blankets and different ideas to get rid of scraps like that, like the acrylic type. But really what I'm looking for is plans to go through my stash for, you know, wearable items or whatever the case may be. So yes, I need to get through my acrylic. I'll share one scrap blanket. I will be following someone else's tutorial, so I will make sure that I share that when I share the blanket, that when it's completed. And other than that, so for Stash-tember, it will be the stash blanket, which is a bunch of random colors that I have planned. I'm just kind of trying to pick up colors and make it work. And then I have it's not really a scrap bag, but my daughter requested like a scrap tote bag, but they're essentially full skeins, so it's really just kind of a tote bag. And I think I have an idea for a plan of how I want to make it, how I want it to look, so that will be on. I have a turtleneck planned, just kind of like a loose, casual turtleneck for the fall. and I have a triangle scarf planned because around Mother's Day this past year I picked up a bunch of skeins of, what is it called? Shawl on a Ball. And to be honest, I fell in love with that yarn. So if you like shawls and you've never worked with shawl on a ball, I would highly recommend. So I had a few skeins of that because I fell in love with the yarn and I grabbed more colors, and I, once I make those and I share that, I'll share the colors, my favorite colors and all of that. So those are the things that I have planned for September. Now October, I wanted to focus on wearables because by October you're wearing cardigans, you're wearing sweaters, and I want to take full advantage of that. I want to wear some new makes. So I have a few things lined up. I tried to pick the patterns that I had, set them aside, plan them out, grab the yarn so that when I get to making the item, I can just kind of jump in, make it, try to be as quick as I can because I'll be probably crocheting every night. Hopefully my wrist can handle it. So those are really the plans. So if you want to follow along and you want to, make some things in your stash and get rid of your stash, please follow me on this Stash-tember adventure and Stash-tober adventures. We can see what we can make do with what we've got, and not buy any yarn until we go through it. Yes, so I'll be sharing those. This will kind of be like when I share my completed makes, it's most likely going to be me talking about the yarn, what I used. I'll share patterns, just kind of like a quick chat about it. I'll show you the make, and I'll be posting like in progress photos and finished photos over on Instagram if you want to follow me there. It's Crochet Revival. And other than that, we'll just be kind of like going through the stash. So yeah, let me show you a few of the yarns that I have kind of slotted for some of my wearables. And then if you have something similar, you can follow along. Okay. So I have several skeins of each of these. So almost all of my high quality, I say like high quality because it really depends on like what you're used to. It is higher quality Yarn Bee. I love the Yarn Bee authentic hand-dyed yarn. I really do. I like working with it, and even though I'm guessing that most people knit with this, I like the way it looks crocheted, so I go with it. This first one, I'm toying around between two patterns for this. It's the color is called Seraphine C, and let's see if it kind of like, there we go. It's still kind of blurry. There we go. It's got like this dark, saturated, like deep blue, and then it comes into this speckled, lighter colorway. And there's a little bit of green over here. It's just a really pretty yarn. I can't wait to see what it looks like. So I'm deciding between the marigold sweater from, she used to be 11 Handmade. Now I believe it's Linda Sujka Designs, and I apologize if I butchered that. Oh, also there's like little pink speckles. I'm not sure if you saw that or not. But I think I kind of want to do that marigold. I think it's called the marigold sweater, where it's like puff stitches on the yoke. I've had that pattern for a long time and I've really wanted to try it out. So I think that I may use this for that pattern. And I have plenty of this. There's some hanks in there that I bought for a purpose, but I didn't buy all of the yarn because I wasn't sure about the yardage, and I didn't want to go around like buying, 4 or 5 and then only using 3 or 4 and, being stuck with one. So I was trying to be smart, but let's hope we get through it. So that's, you know, this is one. And honestly, if you, let me see if I can get that to focus again. If you have any of these hand-dyed authentic yarns in any color, I'm sure that you can follow along, because this is 100% superwash merino, 3.5 ounces, 400 yards, and the recommended hook size is a 3mm. I think that pattern calls for like a 5mm, but I've used as much as a 6 with this yarn and I enjoyed it. Anyway, so the next one is this authentic hand-dyed in Vivid. They do not make, this was their clearance for this past year, so it might be a little hard for you to get your hands on this unless you pick some up at their sale. I got it on sale for $3.74, and I have made a few items with this past year, and when I saw that it was clearanced, I was excited. I was a little excited and a little sad because I did really enjoy working with it, and I thought the colors were really pretty, but I had planned some kind of pullover. I have 4 hanks of this, and I haven't quite decided on a pull or a pattern, but I do believe this is going to be thrown into the mix somehow once I decide. And then this one also is the authentic hand-dyed Vivid. So again, if you don't have this already in your stash, it will be a little hard to pick up, but the colors are just really saturated and really pretty, and I really enjoyed working with this yarn. I made like a spring kind of like cropped granny top this past spring in these colors, and I just put a bunch of them all together, and I really liked the outcome. And to be honest, I don't have any idea where that sweater is. I should dig it out and show you, but really nice, comfortable to wear, really nice top. So these are 3 that I have plenty of, that I'm pretty sure are gonna make it into, you know, probably Stash-tober, if you're interested. And I will try my best to be as consistent as possible with Stash-tober. I might have to do in progress and then completed because they're larger projects or they're sweaters. So we'll really see. In addition to those, I have a few whips in progress that I don't really want to like forget about them, because I was really looking forward to wearing the leaf sweater, so I might throw that in. It really depends on how quick I can get through all these things. So just to recap, because I've been kind of blabbering and this is a long video just because I'm, you know, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, not buying any yarn. I'm not even allowed to buy, I'm not even letting myself buy yarn if I run out. So obviously I'm starting with the things that I have more of for my wearables. So if I have like 4 skeins, I'm kind of honing in on those. And then when we get down to the ones where we have like less, we'll figure out what we can do with. Hopefully we can put them together, we can make something fun. And then something that's kind of planned for the further future is like a scrap granny pullover, just kind of like a traditional top down granny stitch pullover when I get through more of my wearable yarns. So in these like bottom 3 bins is all my like wearable yarns, and I'm just, right now I have scraps of that stuff, but the colors aren't like interesting enough, I guess. So it would be really hard for me to make like a, you know, a pullover that's has like variant colors. So I want to try to wait until I have a little bit more scrap and see what we can make for the granny pullover. I have some really pretty skeins of the authentic hand-dyed and plans. This is actually a newer purchase, and this is one of their newer colorways, crocheted instead of knitted, And I'm absolutely in love with the way this looks. It's kind of like a checkered zigzag kind of pattern when you crochet it up. And this was just gonna be like a loose, kind of comfy top. So hopefully I can finish this because it will be a pretty quick. This is like a 6mm crocheting this up, and it is a weight, what is it? A weight 2? Oh no, it's a 1. They call it a 1, but I don't know. With, see if it focuses. With the 6mm, I think it gives it a nice like looser stitch, but the stitches still look nice and tidy. So if I get through all my stuff, I might start finishing some whips because I do have a lot that I have going on. So if you're kind of interested in following along and seeing what I make to get through my stash, look out for all of those videos coming up and follow me on Instagram. And if you make any of these patterns that I make, like a stash blanket or a tote bag or any kind of variation of something that I'm sharing, I would love to see that. So I will see you in the first official Stash-tember video when I share my first make. And until then, have a great day.